Good morning, and good morning. Yes, I'm only on one platform right now, which is YouTube, and I apologize for all of my, um, not so much Instagram, but Facebook users. I don't know. I don't know what happened, but for some reason, I think I told you that someone decided to be mean spirited and somehow got my account on Facebook suspended. So, I decided after being a little upset and sullen for a few um, weeks that it's time to get back to business. I have to figure all of that out. I have to start all over again, building up, people as followers, but also, continuing to give good content as to what happens to people. So today, my word is deceitful. I don't know why people are deceitful. I don't get it. But there are, people that just do deceitful things. It would be called double dealing. It would be called deception, underhandedness, dishonesty, falsity, fraudulently, swindling, cheating, chicanery, trickery, treachery, so many things as I just look back over these last couple of weeks. And sometimes when one thing happens, it has a domino effect. And the domino effect, even though it seems like it doesn't, it's not going to affect everything, eventually it does. And that's kind of what happened, because I ended up losing access not just to my personal account, but also my business account. Actually, I had two business accounts and another account that I ran for someone else. So you don't realize that people can do harm, and they may have just been playing around. I don't know what happened, but for some reason, I just feel some, as they say, I feel some kind of way. So anyway, the word deception or duplicity is our word, duplicity, which means deception. It just plain enough means deception. So that's my D. My D says deception, the action of deceiving someone. And deception can come in so many ways. It could step to you towards, just a by chance meeting. It could present again as a smile or a handshake or time in a meeting. It just shows up. It shows up in the person that brings it, and it's kind of unprecedented. It may seem like, wow, this is just really cool. This person exists, blah blah blah. And then with our trust that we give them, we lose some things. It might be money, it might be love, it might be reputation, it might be a lot of things that is lost along the way. So when we talk about deception, we're talking about, it being cheating, it being craftiness, being gullible, or lying, or dissembling, hanky panky, funny business, trickery, ruse, cheat, and swindle. And I know all those words sound real harsh when we think of them in their own little context, but collectively, it gives us a really good idea of what, duplicity is, what deceit is, what deception is. Sometimes we have to realize that we've been through it in order for us to speak to it. We don't know. We don't know how to get there because it just arrived, and it's like, what? I just let them, I just gave them, I just allowed them, access to me and maybe my, personalness, my content, my heart, my head, my money. All those things are significant. So when we move on in the word of duplicity, my U is for underhandedness, which just talks about the fact that there may be some secret dishonesty to what people might be doing to you. And when you don't know it, you don't have any idea. And it says it there, therefore it is shady, it's guileful, it's shifty, it's crooked. There's some rogueness to it. It could be sharp, meaning that you end up feeling the pain from it, but it's such a shift from who you met, what you've seen, that when you find out all this other stuff that's hanging below the surface, then it's very difficult to accept. And then it says it may be fraudulent. Okay, meaning that you're actually dealing with something that has probably showtime at the jail. Plain and simple. We move on in our word of duplicity. We talk about perfidy. And perfidy is deceitfulness, untrustworthiness. It says when somebody comes at you and you don't know, well, you're up for grabs. You're just up for grabs. And it says that that's when trickery may form, deceit, duplicity, there it is again, cheating of some sort, fraudulent behavior, dishonest conduct, and lack of loyalty, because their loyalty is to themselves. When somebody's trying to take something from you, or they have taken something from you, they're not thinking about you. You're not the one. They're thinking about how they got something from you and then they disappear. They disappear. So when somebody disappears, my L says, and that's the lure. You've been lured into something. You've been taken advantage of. It says basically that's when tempt of a person or an animal to do something or to go somewhere, especially by offering some form of reward. And let's face it, our hearts are up for a reward. We may be feeling that we love this person, okay? Or, we're promised, that we're going to make a grand amount of money if we give so much money. Or we're going to live in luxury because we've committed to this set of variables that they've set forth that sound good to us, because there's always a reward on the other side of where you're at with a person that's deceitful. If they have this thing called duplicity going on, then you understand, wow. So it says the lure may be that they tempt you and you go with the temptation. Okay. It says it's the enticement, the coaxing, the induce, the persuade. Let's face it, all of us are possible of being persuaded. We're persuaded by everything. When we go out, we may be going out to just look at something, and next thing you know, we're bringing it home. We're persuaded, sometimes easily. And it says that we're persuaded when we're allured. And it says it's the beguiling of it, meaning we thought it was attractive. We thought it was ours, something special, something we actually had to have. It says when we're lured, we're also bewitched, captivated. We're led by something and we're drawn. People are drawn to us, or we make it possible for them to draw in, and we don't even realize that we are the kill. We are let me take from. We are the fall into. We do it all the time, which makes it sad, but also makes it know how human we are and how unhuman other people can act towards us or behave towards us. When we move on in our word of duplicity, the L for me is intentional. When people mistreat you, when people take things from you, when people lure you, when people deceive you, they are intentional. They meant to do it. And it says done on purpose. It was deliberate. How do you even get to the point where you say something is deliberate? It's kind of hard. And it says, but when something is deliberate, it's calculated. They sat down and thought about it. Sometimes they don't even have to sit down. They can just stand up, and in their head, they always have an idea of how I can do what I want to do. Pull this person this way, do what I want to do, manipulate them any way I want to, do what I want to do, take their money, do what I want to do, have their possessions, do what I want to do, take your reputation, do what I want to do. You know, it says that intentional is conscious. It's a conscious effort. It is generally planned. Um, Planned. You know, somebody's planning to live well off of what you've worked hard for. You know, I don't know if I told you, but one of my favorite shows is American Greed. American Greed gets me every time, you know, and they'll bring on people that look like you and me, very common people, no big deal. They may just be people who've worked hard and tried to save a little bit. Well, in that saving a little bit, you find that other people valued your stuff more than you could protect yourself or even yourself from them, because they said, oh, you know, they got it. I'm coming to get it. I'm coming to get it. So it says that, you know, then you realize when something is intended, it's meant to be. They've considered it. They've studied it. They knowingly did what they're doing to you. And it's a willful choice. You know, when I break some of these things down, it's so real to me that people will do what they want to do. You know, and the fact that there is so much upfront evilness in the world, and it's hard after a while for us to know, well, who's telling the truth and who isn't, who's real and who's lying. We don't know. You don't always know. My C in duplicity is for cheating. People will cheat. It says, and cheating is the act of dishonesty or unfairly in order to gain an advantage, especially in a game or an examination, meaning they've gained the fact that you got something, and the examination is how well you serve their test. And sometimes we fall right into the test where we failed it and they won. They won what we had, you know, be it our heart, be it our money, be it our possessions. They won it. And we don't know how to defend ourselves. Not at all. But as they say, nonetheless, we still have to try to live beyond what we've been through, you know. And sometimes it's tough, you know, because people have beaten us down a lot on taking things that belong to us, you know, but we don't know how to defend. We don't know how. My second I in first one was intentional. The second I in our word of duplicity is insincerity. Oh, when someone's insincere about doing what they say they're going to do, we're almost totally disarmed. We know nothing. We don't understand it, but it happens. It says when something is when insincerity hits, it says it's the pretending of having virtues, principles, or beliefs that one, in fact, does not have. Okay. Now, how many of us have ever seen people like that? You know, you got the uncle always going to bring, you know, the food by the house, show up every time. Nothing. You know, the girlfriend that's going to go in on the project with you. You buy it, which you tell you to buy everything. You buy everything, and you end up paying for the project. They never can get around to giving you your money. Their half. Can't do it. So when you meet people where insincerity exists in them, then you're looking at deception. You're looking at, you know, hypocrisy and pretense. You know, pretending is horrible. Pretending, dishonesty, falseness, glibness, oiliness. That was a kind of cool word, oiliness, meaning they slippery. Okay. Double dealing. You cannot pigeonhole these folks. They are who they are. They do what they do. You can't do anything with them. Nothing. And sometimes you have to resort to the courts, or you have to resort to just severing all ties, all involvement whatsoever, you know, because that's the only way that you may have a form of protection for future, you know, future trouble, future violations. but you have to figure it out. You know, there's not everybody around that's going to do right by you. They will not. Some people say, yeah, that nice smile, that nice this, that nice that, you know. I had somebody one time tell me that they wanted to hang with me because, you know, they would take care of my car. And excuse me, where's your car? It doesn't make sense, but we have to let it make sense to us. We do. My In duplicity, there's a T, and the T says trickery. Okay, trickery. You know what is trickery? It's the use of being clever, underhanded. Okay, actions that achieve an end, not a good end necessarily for the person that's being tricked, but for the person or persons that's doing the tricks. That's tough because a lot of times they look good. You know, they may smell good, they may speak well, they may be dressed dapper, and we miss it. We miss it totally because we're caught up in what we see, we're caught up in what we hear. But on the flip side of that, it doesn't add up in the final transaction or the you understanding the transition of what happened. You were taken, you were tricked, plain and simple. You know, you were deceived. It said cunning, you know, jugglery, meaning they juggled everything up so you couldn't quite figure it out. There's an artfulness to it. They're clever, just clever. Plotting, the fact that they plotted to do what they did and they did it. And you unknowingly complied. Not that you really would have had you known more, but you fell into place. And they said also with trickery, there's sneakiness. The fact that they may be creeping around everything that you have only to figure out how it can become theirs and no longer yours. You know, and I think women have especially been victimized like that in their love lives and in their finances and their possessions. Probably men too, especially men that were used to being married and end up, you know, widowed, and they become victims. Somebody's coming for them, looking at them, right at them, you know, making sure they make themselves a place for something. I had a girlfriend once, and she's still my girlfriend, but her father had lost his wife, her mother, and immediately he became like hot material, you know, hot desire. And he was an older man, but they, you know, basically vulturized him. They were on him. They were making sure they knew, you know, can I bring him dinner? And they would bring him dinner. They would, you know, come over and wash dishes and be there all the way. They could never imitate, you know, or be his wife, but he also would acknowledge his loneliness. And in the long run, you know, as things had it, the father ended up losing some of his property just because he married a woman that, we're not sure if she ever loved him, but what she did love is the fact that, you know, she got his property, even though she said, oh, I don't want any of that. That'll go to his children. That didn't happen. So sometimes we have to pay attention to what trickery may come up. It may show up as. It may show up totally away from what we're used to, what we can, you know, grab our ideas on. But it is what it is. We just have to say, wow, that's different. That's unusual. That's horrible. But we don't always do it. And my why in duplicity today is the yucky, the yuck. And you know what yuck is? Yuck means it's used to express strong distaste or disgust. To me, when someone has been, you know, ripped off for whatever it is, you know, their love, their money, their possessions, their will to just continue to function and feeling good about themselves is wrong. And so it talks about it being an unpleasant feeling, a nastiness that occurred. The fact that these were bad people that we dealt with, but we didn't know it. There was some wickedness to them. Unpleasantry came from it. We looked at it as being ugly when we look back on it. It was horrific or horrible. And then there's the obnoxiousness of what took place. Life is short. There's many a person who's probably, gone to their graves having been tricked on their way out by somebody coming to their bedside and making sure that they handle their business. And the business was really probably in a better situation had they just gone out from it going through the whole judicial system of probate, but someone intercedes and makes it their business that papers are signed and people end up signing off a lot of things that could have gone to their heirs. So we do have to be conscious of what it is that's taking place in our lives. This wasn't I didn't mean this to be an alarming presentation, but what I meant it to be was a good one that talks about the fact that duplicity exists, people who are duplicit and deceitful and double dealing and underhanded and fraudulent in their nature and having falsity all over the place. Sometimes they're hard to see because we love them. They're hard to see because we believe them. They're hard to see because we think we know them. We think we do. But I say, know yourself more. Understand that every time somebody may look at you, come at you, meet you, all of those kinds of things, put a little bit of pause onto how much time, how much space, how much connection you draw to them until you really, really know them. And sometimes that may show that you need to go in the opposite direction and divert your attention. Anyway, that's our session today. Are you stuck? Yes, sometimes we all get stuck. We get stuck on people, positions, power, or perceived power. But let's face it, we are who we are. Take care of your heart. Take care of your mind. Take care of your soul. And I hope to see you again. And if you see in this video, send it off to others and let it be known that we are who we are. I love you very much and appreciate you. Have a good day. Thanks. Bye-bye.